I suppose let's just get your view on this relief rally. Is it going to continue into next week from a technical point of view? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think the market has drawn down quite aggressively over the past couple of days, and the guys are taking some of their shorts off the table before the weekend. I think the growth numbers in China is helping quite a lot. I think people are really worried on the downside potential that could have evolved through China. I don't think the Chinese numbers are great, but at least it's growth, it's reasonable growth. And just looking back through the economic data that was released from China as well, the import-export numbers during the week, it wasn't too bad either. On the export side, maybe slightly disappointing, but it all flows through on, risk off. The rand looks reasonably good. The cash inflows into the domestic economy, especially via the bonds, is very positive, but it's a little bit risky. We're seeing yields being pushed down, yield curve flattening out very aggressively over the past week or two. And I think that's the side that I'm a little bit more wary than on the equity side. I think the equity side is tired. It's been sold very aggressively. And I think the market will hover. I don't think it's really a relief rally. I think we're going to do some work here and then possibly crawl up slowly.
And if you say we're going to do some work here, which stocks are going to do the most work? Which stocks are positioned for the biggest upside, I suppose?
Well, I think we've got to look at stocks like Exxaro that was clobbered, I would guess, close to 17% over the past couple of days on the back of Kumba and Tronox profit warnings. And I think it's completely overdone. There's a lot of panic in the stock. If you look at the fundamentals, yes, there's a lot of worries, but if you look at the average rand iron ore price that they realized over the past 6 months, it's not too bad. I think the potential might be a bit softer, but not too bad. So I think what we will definitely start seeing is where you see these real volume vacuums, as I call them. In other words, there's just no buyers. Slowly but surely you're going to start seeing stock pickers coming in. Maybe APSA is another example. I don't think APSA is a great buy at this stage, but I think it just fell too quickly. Yeah. So one's got to be careful and take the opportunities there.
Let's talk about the resources space, because BHP Billiton comes out with its June quarter production figures next week. Overall, they have signaled to the market that iron ore output it will likely increase for this quarter, so that has been priced in. But overall, I mean, it's a stock that's fallen 5%. We know it's trading at a cheap discount right now. How do you trade the stock as we start out the trading week next week?
Yeah, I think the worry there is in the market is that the volume on the commodity side will most probably be okay. The prices is most probably going to be, iron ore specific, is going to be a little bit on the lower side. I think we've got to be forward looking though. Take out of the production numbers just to see if there's any specific problems, which they would have mentioned most probably, but forward looking on stocks like Billiton, Anglos, and then maybe the Kumba Exxaros of this world, you've got to look at it and say, where are we going over the next 3 to 6 months? The market currently is very short-sighted. They look 2-3 months in advance. I think the bad economic news that we've seen over the past 2-3 weeks has clobbered those stocks severely. And then also on the commodity side, what's very important that we've got to monitor on the commodity side, the liquid commodities, is the longs and shorts, the open interest on commodities like, for instance, copper and platinum and oil. To what extent the traders have added to their longs and shorts. And what we have seen in the past week, last week, is that a lot of the short positions has been reduced. So it's going to be interesting to see how we start on Monday.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And just looking at the spot price right now of Brent crude popping up above $100 a barrel. So, of course, that reignites all the concerns about Brent crude rallying from here. Would you say that that's still a concern, or do you think the concerns around global growth will keep a lid on this oil price?
I think in terms of Brent, you've got to look at it from two perspectives. Firstly, the growth picture, which I think could give it a spike, but not too much. But I think the politics and the Iran story around it is going to keep oil very, very volatile for quite a period until this thing is sorted, if it's ever sorted. So I think the impact of the political issue around Iran has got a bigger impact on Brent than growth at this stage.
Let's touch back on the bond market, because you said you were concerned around that. But it's interesting that in terms of the corporate bond market, Able raising 125 million Swiss franc bond at a coupon rate of 4.75%. What is a signal for you? Still the ability to go offshore, raise funds from that end, and does that have any implication for the stock price of Able?
Well, it's fantastic for the company. I think what Able did over the past couple of months is that they've tapped the foreign market, I don't think at a very cheap price, but they tapped it widely. They also issued some dollar bonds a while ago, and it was reasonably successful. And I think it's good in diversifying the company's funding ability and diversifying funding. It's quite important because Able's got a concentrated bond issuance in the domestic market. So I think Able, fantastic company. If you can fund broader and in the foreign market at reasonable prices, then it will flow through onto the book. So I think it was very positive. It's not a huge issue, but it's important to prove to the market that they can tap. And I'm not sure about the Swiss franc issue, but the other foreign issues, as far as I know, was fully hedged. So it's not that it's going to load them with currency exposure. So I think it's very positive for the company. It might not push the share price too aggressively, but Able is still growing quite aggressively. So I like the stock.